Hello once again, and welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious, we review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And tonight we are reviewing WandaVision, Episode 3, titled Now in Color. All right, I am your host, Dr. Rotten, and joining me tonight are Christopher Slattery. He's called the Slattman. How you doing, sir?
I can't tell you because we're all no.
If you watch the show, you know what we're talking about. All right, also joining us is podcasting rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa Thompson. How you doing, Vanessa?
Don't mind me, just working on my breathing.
God, they did such a good job of making that into like a reoccurring joke.
Oh man, there's a lot to talk about this. It's yes, we are talking about WandaVision, Episode 3, now in color, directed by Matt Shakman and written by Jack Schaefer and Gretchen Enders. Of course, the cast includes Elizabeth Olsen, Paul Bettany, Catherine Hahn, Tayana Paris, Fred Malamed, Deborah Jo Ruff, although she didn't appear in this episode, Asif Ali, and Emma Caulfield Ford, who did appear in a funny joke in this one. Wanda's pregnancy fritzes her power as she and Vision prepare for an accelerated delivery. Yes, that's basically what this episode is about, is the birth of, is Billy and Tommy, right? Billy and, no. Did I get those names right?
Tommy's only one is one of them. I don't remember
the other one.
Is Billy. Yeah. So these are the children of the Vision and Scarlet Witch from the comics, the same names. And there's a whole backstory that we could do a whole episode on just that alone. But tonight we're talking about the 30 minutes that was now in color. So what we're going to do is our first impressions, and then we're going to chat about the series. We're going to get into spoilers after the first impressions, so just keep that in mind. And then we're going to wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score, favorite scene, and all that jazz. All that jazz. So let's start off with Slattman. Sir, what'd you think? Episode 3. How's it going?
It was great.
You're great.
No, they did a really good job. This episode started to answer some questions while also bringing in way more questions than I had based on the first 2 episodes.
Yes.
It was a fun episode too. There was a lot of good jokes. There was a lot of great moments, a lot of really, really funny moments. And it's just I love where the series is going. I love the actors that they've gotten involved, and man, the writing is excellent.
It's a damn funny show. A lot of people are barking that it doesn't have the action, that you would expect from an MCU kind of show. But
yeah, who cares?
For me, that's the strength. But we'll get into all that. All right, Vanessa, you're up next. What was your first impression of Episode 3? No, go.
Oh, I loved it too. I'm gonna do a little backtrack since I missed last week, but I grew up on Nick at Night, so all the themes in these shows are really ringing true to me, and are giving me all these really fond memories. And I think they're doing such a wonderful job, like you were saying, with the humor and the writing and fitting these characters into those scenarios. The first 2 were funny and interesting, and weird things were happening, but this one kind of feels the most emotional to me. We're really touching on some things that are getting personal, and there's some moments in here that really made me kind of tear up a little bit. So they're doing a really good job with this, and I'm really loving. You mentioned the writing. There's that song that they open up with, the theme.
Yes.
Somebody should win an award for that, because that is some perfect lyrics in that. So fun, and there's just a lot of really awesome things, and I love how this ended. I think it's really going to start opening up this other world to us.
Yeah, we have to talk about the ending because the ending, we've been waiting for a moment like that. We've been teased the past couple of episodes, and this one we get a lot more, but we'll get to that. For me, of course, the first one was the 50s. This one, the next one was the 60s. Now we're in the 70s. Very Brady Bunch. Even from the beginning, even though there was only 2, they still made it feel like Brady Bunch. And stick around. There's a funny little gaffe or goof or whatever you want to call it in that opening theme song that we need to talk about. Kind of like Jeans Man kind of goof, but we'll get there. If you watch Mandalorian, you know what we're talking about there. But oh my gosh, this is it. It really is funny. It's a quick pace. It's hilarious. I just repeated myself. The acting is great. Dialogue is witty. It's just hitting all the right notes. I mean, when he goes and gets, there's all kinds of things. I won't get into them now, but he's like running around and having babies and all the other characters and everything going wild and using the magic and not using the magic. It still has that, the Bewitched feel that we had from the last episode still kind of permeates through here, which makes sense. Scarlet Witch. But this one feels like it's really getting into the mystery of it all. It's starting to, what does Shrek say? Peel the onions, or is that
layers?
Yeah,
layers.
Onions. We have layers.
Layers. And that's not. It's a donkey, right? Donkey.
No, that's Shrek.
Yeah.
Ogres have layers.
Yes. But well, never mind. It doesn't matter. But I don't know. I really dug it. I really thought this was fantastic, and it. I'm going to say one more thing before we get into it, and I just think that Elizabeth Olsen did an Emmy worthy performance in this episode.
Especially in a spoiler section.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but the whole aspect of what she was doing and yeah, I thought she did a great job. She was totally convincing in the realm of this 9-minute whatever it was episode. But let's get into things. It looks like we all liked it. We've got to start talking about the elements of it. We got to get into the spoilers and then eventually talk about the ending with Geraldine. I'm going to start by throwing this in. And Slattman, you mentioned it in the beginning where the neighbors are doing some wacky things like cutting into the cinder block wall for some silly stupid reason.
Seem to have taken a little bit much off the hedge there.
Yes. But they are like this close to revealing something. And Agnes turns around with a very worried look. What's going on? What's happening here, guys?
Oh man, there are so I want to say I have no idea. There are a lot of really crazy theories out there, ranging from this takes place in a cemetery and they're all dead people that Wanda's reanimating to that they're in a simulation to they're trapped in an alternate dimension, Doctor Strange style, to God, there's so many different possibilities. The cemetery one is probably my favorite because it's just the most out there.
That's actually kind of frightening. That I hadn't heard that one. That is really bizarre.
Yeah, apparently the town that this takes place in has one of the largest cemeteries in New Jersey in it in real life. So that's why people on the internet are just like, what if these are all dead people that Wanda's reanimating to make her perfect little world? Yeah,
well, we all believe, I think, right? Vanessa, I think we didn't get to talk about this last week, but I think we all believe that Agnes is the witch that kind of trained Wanda in the comics. Agatha Harkness, who is a great character and is very, very much a big part of her dealing with the kids when that happens. She's part of that storyline. Do you agree with that, or do you think people are just reaching and wanting that to be the case?
No, I think no, I don't think that's a reach at all. I think that's very likely to be true. I lost my train of thought. Oh my god. I just completely drew a blank. She mind freaked me from far away.
She said, no.
I know, right? Well, there's some really, really strange stuff happening in here. And it was a theory. That's why I'm drawing a blank. You were talking, and I had a theory too in my head, and now it's left my mind.
Well,
it'll come back to me.
I was going to say, when it comes back, just interrupt. It'll be fine. Of course, David Payton's there as Herb, and Herb, has a great 70s look. But one of the big things they mentioned is they're talking about Geraldine, who is at this point inside helping Wanda give birth. And they say that she isn't from the town, she doesn't have a home, she doesn't have a husband, and all that stuff. Why is that a thing? Anybody have any theories about that?
Well, she has the little sword, right?
She does. The little symbol is the sword. Yeah.
The other thing is that if everyone in the town is supposed to be under either Hydra's control, Sword's control, whoever's in control, or Wanda's control, then her being an outsider means that the world as we know it can be disturbed.
True. And there is another group that could be in there, or at least a person or something along those lines that people are theorizing about, that it isn't Hydra, it isn't AIM, it isn't Sword that's actually doing this, but it's Mephisto.
He could be a part of Hydra or Sword or AIM. They could just write that in. Could be. Or he could just be doing it all on his own.
Yeah, most people are thinking that because of some dialogue from the first 2 episodes. And then, of course, the big, we are, the stuttering, whatever they were trying to reveal.
For the children.
Yeah, and of course, for the children.
Yeah.
All right, so before we get to Geraldine, let's talk about the children, the birth.
Nice transition there.
Yes. It accelerated pregnancy. We learned that she was pregnant at the very end of the last episode, and then it's like, what, not even a day, and she's
supposed to be there by Friday.
Yeah. And it has a lot of cute things. There's a great scene where they're putting together the crib, and the butterflies come to life and land on his nose, and there's all this wonderful stuff. And of course, every pain she starts freaking out, the electricity and stuff. It kind of throws her magic powers in whack. A lot of really fun stuff with just dealing with the pregnancy, and
how'd she get pregnant?
Well,
right? That's the thing
we have to have a long discussion about that.
The doctor tried to explain it.
Especially since
birds,
the vision
there's
is...
bees.
When 2 people love each other very much.
That's such a 70s way to try to explain that too.
And the stork walking around.
Yeah.
Okay, the stork was genius.
Yeah, it was.
And the fact that she tried to poof it away and it just blew away the poof.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big push and pull going on here with her trying to regain control and whoever's trying to control her. I remembered what I was thinking. It wasn't so much of a theory. It's how similar when we finally saw where she is looks like from the outside. It reminded me of Annihilation. Y'all remember that movie Annihilation?
Yes.
And it did that kind of vibrant thing, and it was changing everything inside around it. So it almost feels like that she's changing the world around her a little bit, but also to what point is her world being affected? I love how they do the transitions between her changing what's happening, and the one in this episode hit me really strong because it was so sharp with Vision.
Yes,
that one, and it was almost like scary, right? How much control she has. I mean, she's one of the strongest characters, right?
In the MCU, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that scene was actually pretty interesting because the last episode we got the beekeeper and she said no, and it did the rewind thing. This one was, like you said, very much sharper, starker. Vision starts to kind of question what's going on and thinks things are a little off. And as soon as she does, she basically, in a blink, rewinds it back to thing, and then he takes a different course.
So something interesting. I didn't really see that as Wanda doing it as much as there was a glitch in Vision. Since he's supposed to be a machine, right?
That's an interesting perspective.
That's an interesting thought. I didn't think of that. That it's actually him doing it or her doing it through him or something.
Well, every time before she is shown making the change, right? But this you didn't even see her at all. It's focused on Vision the whole time. So that's an interesting point of view, because that could be it. Because remember in the last episode, there was somebody watching a television.
That was the first one. Yeah. That was Sword. Somebody from Sword watching. And of course we heard. Was it Park? Right. He was on the radio on the second episode. Of course, we'll get to what happens here just a few minutes about this episode. What happens in the regular world, if you will.
And one other interesting thing that might lead to a glitch in Vision is, if I remember correctly, there's a story in the comics where after Vision dies one time, whoever was in charge, it might have been Stark actually, tries to rebuild Vision for Wanda, and Wanda is just like, this isn't my Vision, this is an imitation, this is a glitchy mess. No.
Right.
That's a hell of a lot darker than what this series is.
That wouldn't end well. I don't think.
One more thing before we get to Geraldine. Really, I've done a blank too. One more. I know what's happening. What was I going to say?
There's just so much to talk about.
There is.
Yeah.
It does have to do with Geraldine, but it's before the Geraldine thing about get out of my house. She it's more about Wanda, because Wanda, after she gives birth to twins, has a really interesting conversation that is tonally different than the rest of the episode, where she looks to Geraldine and says, "I'm a twin, right? I had a brother, Pietro, and he died." And that makes Geraldine remember something or come to a conclusion, or whatever she's doing, or reveal
breaks character.
She breaks character. That's a good way to put it. And says, "Oh yeah, he was killed by Ultron," and that sets Wanda off. And Wanda is almost a villain. It's portrayed like a villain in the next few scenes, where she basically is very, very, very stern with Geraldine. Is Wanda the villain? Is Wanda?
So this is why I think that everything in this world is supposed to be that Wanda's in control, and it's supposed to be Wanda's perfect world, her escape in some way. I
think so too. But there are a lot of theories in here that make me question that, and each one is good. All right, let's talk about Geraldine and the end of it. Vanessa, you didn't really get to talk about the last couple episodes, so let's start with you. Geraldine is tossed out. You've already mentioned it, that there's this envelope around the city, much like the movie you mentioned, and Geraldine comes flying out of it, lands in an empty field that's only empty for a short time, because a bunch of sword agents or shield agents or something rush in to meet her as she's lying there. What do you think? What's going on here? What's happening?
Yeah. And I love the music, the song that they play, "Cheer Up, Sleep."
Yes.
It's so fitting for that. And what really struck me about that is she was ejected looking exactly the way she looked while she was in there. So there are some serious changes going on inside there that are physically affecting everything going on. And I just wonder, like, are they going to try to replant her in there? Are they going to send someone else in? You know, what side is she on? Because I guess we're assuming that she's on a different side from Agatha and some of our other characters, right?
I think so. I think
Somewhat
so.
at odds, right? So it's interesting to see what's going to happen now, especially if it does turn out to be Agatha, if Agnes is Agatha, and you know, is she going to try to talk to her, help her? What is her role with the children? You know, where did they come from? I really want to know where they came from.
Is she trying to take the children?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Are they trying to just put her so deep into this maybe subconscious of hers and keep her unaware of what's going on to where they could take her children? I don't know. It's scary.
So I just want to clarify something I said earlier. It's Randall Park plays Jimmy Woo, and that was the voice we heard. And Jimmy Woo is also the character from Ant-Man and Ant-Man and Wasp, the one that is coming to the house when he's quarantined to the house. So, and if you didn't know, Geraldine is also Monica Rambeau.
Right? You're right. I saw that the other day. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot.
Right.
I love that tie-in.
Yes, and she's a character that's named Photon in the comic books. She's also the daughter of the character that is in Captain Marvel, the movie that was Captain Marvel's best friend, Carol's best friend. This is her daughter. So really nice tie-in. Of course, there was a lot of publicity of that was happening, so it's not a surprise. It hasn't been revealed yet, so we're kind of spoiling next week as well. But definitely a thing is coming. And there are some more series and movie characters going to appear in the future. But I have a feeling there's a surprise or two. It just feels like there's something on the cusp that is going to feel very, very strange.
Very strange. About very strange. Yes. I hope, man, that would be so cool.
While I highly doubt it'll actually be that character, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody from that series shows up. Whether it's like one of the monks or God forbid Dormammu. What if he's behind it?
I also really think like this is probably where they're going to tie in the XMen, right? Especially if they're showing her in that costume later on, the little snippets that we've seen. So it just opens up a whole world of characters they could potentially bring in if they do that. Yeah,
because if they do bring in the Fox X-Men into this, there's another Quicksilver. There's another Pietro.
Yeah. Well, I won't say anything. I don't want to leak too much if other people haven't heard it.
There are rumors.
Yeah.
There are rumors. That would be really bizarre and would really throw things out of.
Yeah.
Big things are in store for us. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in. We're a third of the way in. And this episode or this series is definitely leading toward a number of other series, most notably Doctor Strange 2. And I think also Captain Marvel 2 with Monica, right?
Here's an interesting theory real quick. What if Mr. Sinister's involved in some way, shape, or form?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting. And there's also, so we know that Wanda can manipulate reality to a certain extent, right? And she can also manipulate perception of reality. And that's what she did in the Ultron movie, right? Avengers 2, which she did all the mind thingies to everybody and they didn't know where they were. And of course the Hulk went absolutely berserk, right? So she definitely, whatever she's doing, she's definitely shown these powers and they're just amped up to the max. Of course, after losing Vision, you can see maybe where that would go, but I don't know. I'm wondering, and we'll stop here before we give our final thoughts. That's the last thing. Will this turn from comedy to being serious?
Yes.
Okay.
It might not be for a couple episodes. It might not be until like the last 3 episodes or so, but I do think at some point it will stop being as comedic.
Yeah. Do we know how many episodes are in the season 8?
9.
9. Okay.
And if you think about it, it's 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2010s.
Well, 20s
So
and then 2010s. You could do
20s, 2010s. So that leaves two episodes outside of a sitcom decade.
Yeah. So we get to say we'll get the 80. We'll get the 80s this week, 90s and the aughts, and then the 10s. Maybe we won't get the 10s. Maybe we'll just jump straight in. So it could be 3, 3, and 3, right? The 3 being outside. I don't know, but it's going to be exciting, whatever it is. Let's wrap this one up because we're definitely going to be coming back next week to keep up this work. But what was our final thoughts? Our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. There's a whole lot that we could choose. Slattman, you're up first.
So I loved this episode. I love the direction the series is going. I love the mystery that's there. I love the writing. The comedy is great. We didn't even talk about easily the funniest moment in the entire series so far with, oh, thank God. The characters are great. Even the side characters that only get one scene, they're all great and memorable.
That one's
yeah. Well, even other characters and other scenes are memorable in their own ways in other episodes. But the what they're doing with this is amazing, and I'm so happy that they've decided to do something like this on Disney Plus in a TV show format instead of just sticking something like this into a movie. It's the same reason that The Mandalorian works so well. It's the same reason why Rebels and Clone Wars works so well. You can tell a much more involved story if you plan it out correctly in this medium, and it's paying off so well, I think. And I just have to praise the people at Marvel and Disney for taking this risk because it's awesome. I love it.
It is a risk. It is very much a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. My score for this episode is a 5, just like the last two. And then my favorite scene is the scene with we've already mentioned it. It's the scene where Wanda starts talking about her brother, and then Geraldine's like, he was killed by Ultron, wasn't he? Like that shift in tone, that shift in acting, and that scene really hit. And if you notice that scene, the camera work shifts from a very 70s jump cut style to a very modern, like slow zoom in, pan out, like slowly, like move, like it's so effective. I loved that scene.
Yeah, I love how there's later in the show they transition from the square to the widescreen.
Letterbox.
Letterbox. Yeah, so that was awesome. All right, Vanessa, you are up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene.
To Slattman's favorite scene, I was really ready for her to be like, "What did you say, bitch?" P.S. I've started watching Rebels. I love it.
It's awesome.
So good. It's so good. But that's for Mando talk. I'm really loving the show a lot. I'm really loving the way that the episodes are playing out, one after the other, and how the story is building upon itself. And I'm really looking forward to when they're all out and kind of watching them more in a row to see the complete story. They're doing such a wonderful job telling it. And I'm so happy that, we got The Mandalorian and it's been so great. And there is always the fear that the other properties that are coming out are not going to live up to that. But so far, so good, I think. I think they're really, really doing it right. And I really look forward to the future Marvel shows that we're going to get as well. And like I said earlier, this was a much more emotional episode for me. The first two were very funny and they had some really weird kind of moments to a little Twin Peaks-ish, in that first one with the stop it. I love Kitty, by the way. That 70s show, it was fun to see her. I love seeing her all the time. But See, look, I'm too excited. I have too many things to talk about because I missed last week. So I'd lose my train of thought. Anyways, I'll jump to my favorite scene. Well, my score is a 5 so far out of all. Yeah, love them all. Oh, about it being emotional. That leads into my favorite scene because for me, the thing that really struck a chord with me was when Vision changed into his true form to meet his son.
Nice. Yes.
Oh, it touched my heart. My eyes were welling up a little bit because it was such a special moment that they were sharing. But I also love that it jumped into a comedic moment right after that when she goes into having the other baby and screams in his face.
And he screams back. Oh my God, that was great.
I thought that was perfect. I think they're nailing the humor per decade. They're doing an excellent job of that. I've seen some people say, oh, her acting is off. It's stilted. It's not good. I'm like, have you seen the source material at all? But I'm loving it so far.
No, she has the delivery of those decades down.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Even with that change too, in this episode where she gets triggered by Geraldine and she immediately changes, and you see, okay, everything else is an act. She knows she's acting, but
and then on top of that, her accent when she starts talking about her brother, her accent goes back to what it was.
Yeah. Exactly. So nuanced, what she's doing.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying their performances. This is a great series, and I'm so happy that it wasn't planned. It was, of course, COVID changed everything up, and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was supposed to come out first, but this came out first instead because the other series was a little bit more delayed than this one. And I think it's a good choice because we were 18 months ago when we had our last Marvel movie, everybody was kind of talking about fatigue, right? Superhero fatigue. And I wasn't feeling it because I love these movies, but I understand that feeling. And I think this is such a refreshing take to superheroes, or at least our two superheroes in question here, that it kind of freshens that whole idea up. And if it was straight up, so whenever we get our next straight up superhero movie or TV show, it's going to feel, so refreshing again, right? It's going to, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And I'm so happy they're taking this bold approach, and that that they're really into the characters of, there are two characters, and they're really into the mystery of it and taking their time, which is one of the benefits that Slattman was talking about that you can do with episodic television that you can't necessarily do all the time with a 2 hour or 2.5 hour film even. So it kind of gives you a little bit more freedom, and I think it's just paying off wonderfully. I'm really enjoying this. I'm going to give it a 5 too. It's just, I am loving this series. Can't wait for more of, not only this, but I can't wait for the Falcon show, and I can't wait for Loki. I'm looking forward to even more.
Man, even What If is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, especially, right? But then there's a whole gaggle more. I mean, this is going to do it. This is amazing. I mean, I was saying this, 5-6 years ago, amazing time to be a superhero fan. It's getting better and better. It's hard to believe.
It is.
It's just so much content everywhere, and it's now not everything's as good as this, or there's been maybe I'm thinking more of the DC stuff, but there are some Marvel drops, Inhumans.
There hasn't been a bad Marvel drop in years, though.
You didn't watch Inhumans.
Oh no,
that was
I didn't watch that either.
That was a huge drop. It was such a huge drop that I haven't heard anybody mention it in a year.
Well, there you go. They know how to sweep something under the rug. Yeah.
All right. So my favorite scene. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm going to mention one scene. It's not my favorite. Well, maybe it is. The Vision, when she goes into labor for the first time, and Wanda's going. And he gets nervous and floats up. And she's like, tried to get him back down. I don't know why. I just loved his entire reaction to everything when they go into the kitchen's exploding, and they come out and they do that pose, right? And the pose, of course, we talked about this pre-show. The pose is from the Vision and Scarlet Witch #1, the first the 12-issue miniseries that came out. And they did a great job of that. It was so great to see him do that too. Yeah, that could be my favorite scene too. But it's
Paul Bettany is doing such a great job. So great in this role.
Yes, funny guy. Oh my god, especially episode 2. But yes, this one too. And I like that he's suspicious now, right? Because he knows that that Geraldine doesn't have a home, but then Wanda told him that Geraldine went home.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going to have that in his head, and that's going to come back around. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite scene, though?
The Vision flying up in the air.
I thought you said that could be
I decided to take it.
Oh, okay.
It's that whole idea, of him, not only just that scene, but the whole episode where he just
he's freaking out.
He just but that one in particular kind of, he just kind of loses control and floats up in the air. I don't know. I just loved his reaction.
So before we leave, one last little Easter egg that I want to throw out there. Did anyone else notice that as the episode was going on and Wanda was becoming more and more pregnant, the fruit that the doctor referenced in like how she would be in her along in her pregnancy is on screen at some point when she
really?
Yeah.
Because he even makes a joke. I would be a papaya.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's consistent. It's consistent throughout the whole episode. It's not just a build up to the papaya joke.
The visual gags are funny. I mean, the stork on the wall. She does.
There's like a bazillion Easter eggs throughout all these episodes. Just the incredible attention to detail. It's insane.
Yeah, like when Geraldine runs back in there after getting whatever she got out of the kitchen, and the pictures are spinning, and she goes, "I'm sure there's a good explanation for that." All kinds of stuff, but it makes me want to watch it again. It's so. All right, well, there's our review. We were going to do this as a short one, and it ended up being a long one, but we hope you enjoyed our take and babbling on about the show. If you're still listening, thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button down below is the easiest and best thing to do to help us out. If you want to hit the like button, that'd be cool too. If you're liking the show, please go down the Vision and Scarlet Witch. Vision or WandaVision. Please go down below and hit the, give us some comments. Let us know what you think. Give us your theory. Which one of the many theories out there, do you think is the theory you agree with? Because there's a bunch. And we also want to thank our patrons who, without their patronage, he wouldn't be able to do Gruesome Magazine, this show, Heroes of Droids, Decades of Horror News Radio. I mean, we literally put out a show every weekday. So if you like this, there are 4 more this week. I can do math. All right, guys. Chris, Vanessa, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us. It's always awesome talking about this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's say goodnight.
I can't because we're